In this lecture, we're going to talk about variables and mutability. Variables are how we are going to store the data that is necessary for our application to run, and then mutability is going to refer to how that data can be manipulated. If it's mutable, we are able to modify the variable, but if it's immutable, we will not be allowed to modify it. So to demonstrate this, we're going to create a new directory called variables using cargo, and we're going to change into that directory. So now if we look at the folder structure, it is the same as what we're used to, especially with hello. So we'll go into main.rs and we will delete that line. So the first thing that we're going to do is use the let keyword, and this is basically saying, hey, this is going to be a variable. So we're going to say let x equal 5. And then we're going to use the print line macro, which is going to allow us to print information out to the terminal. We'll cover macros more in depth later on, but for now just know that print line with the exclamation point is how you print information out to the terminal. So we will say the value of x is, and then curly brackets, and specify the variable that we want to print out. Also, if you're not super familiar with Visual Studio Code, if you click File and go down to Autosave, it'll automatically save for you. That way you don't have to continuously do it. Now if we run cargo build and cargo run, we get the desired output of the value of x is 5. So now what happens if we try to assign 6 to the variable x and then print out the same value? So we will build it again and we get an error. So if we bring this up, we can see that the error says cannot assign twice to a mutable variable x, and it'll tell us that at line 2 we first assigned to x, and then at line 6 we're trying to reassign to x. But it also says considered making this binding mutable. So if we come up here and put mute x, our error for that squiggly, that was at line 6, so just so you can see it again, how it has it here. So now if we put mute, that error is now gone. So if we build it again and then run, we now have the desired output. So what this keyword right here is doing is it's allowing us to be able to modify the x variable. So that's really important to know, because if you forget that mute keyword, then you're not allowed to modify any variables. Another keyword that we can use to make sure variables are not able to be modified is const. Const is going to allow the variable to live as long as the program is alive. So what we'll do is we'll create a const called seconds, and we'll assign it the data type of I8, and I'll get into data types in the next lecture. Now, by Rust's naming convention, constants are always going to be in all capital letters. So anytime you see a variable in all caps, it should be a const by Rust's naming convention. So what we'll do here is we'll print out again the value of seconds is seconds, and we will cargo build, cargo run, and we see the value of seconds is 60. So constants cannot be mutated at all. So as you can see, it's already complaining about it. Const globals cannot be mutable. So luckily Rust is really friendly with telling us all of this information, but it's all very important beginner steps on knowing how to instantiate a variable. So in the next lecture we will talk about data types.